Welcome back to the Rise to Her podcast, and we are talking about the archetype of the week. If you are new to our community, the archetype of the week is where I spend some time before the month starts and I do a card pulling, just like you would with tarot or oracle cards, and I pull the archetypes that are coming through strongest for the week. This is not something that I specify, oh, we're going to work with this card. I literally connect with the energy and pull the cards. And I am saying that because you're going to be shooketh about this week's card. And I was shooketh when I started working on the script. So I pulled this at the end of April and sent my community a beautiful picture of all the cards that I pulled for this week's energy and this month's energy. And did not dawn on me about anything else happening in the month of May other than Beltane was opening up. So the summer season has started according to the will of the year, and we are in full creative energy. That's all I was going with, okay? So I'm priming you for what I'm going to tell you the card is. But before we get there, I am recording this on Thursday. So that is May 7th. And I record based on the voice memos, the intuitive readings that I do. And then I create a full script for it. And while you're listening to this, I will be in Ohio prepping for a 45-mile hike that I'm going on with a group of incredible women. Starting on Wednesday, we're going on a long 3-day, 45-miler overnight backpacking trip. And it is a spiritual journey where we're going to be tapping into our minds, our bodies. And I am really nervous, but I'm really excited. I've been having some health problems with my stomach, and then I have a shoulder injury and a hamstring strain. And I was getting really in my head. And what did I do wrong to cause all of this? How did I get to this point? And like, where was I off in my spiritual practice? And I'm offering that to you as we come into this reading because there was a lot of shame and blame. And I was with my dear friend Molly, who teaches all of my seasonal living workshops with me. She is a somatic practitioner, an integrated massage therapist. She does cranial sacral. She's absolutely magic. If you're in the Portland area, highly, highly, highly recommend you need to get on her schedule once a month at minimum, if not more. She is magic. But I was sharing all of these things that I was processing and how frustrated I was. She said, well, Emily, I know you to be a very deeply spiritual person and teacher. You spend a lot of time out in the top chakra, right? The connection to spirit. And I'm wondering if this is an invitation back to yourself, to your body, to the human form. And that was a really freaking beautiful reminder. And I was like, dang, I guess you're right. I guess this is an invitation. So I want to give you an invitation before we start to be gentle with yourself, to know that your human form is not something to change, to fight against, but instead something to be deeply honored. And it is a magical thing when you learn how to embody the full spectrum of emotions, of experiences, even the suffering that comes along the way, which I know there will be some pain and complaining and frustrations coming when I do this 45-miler next week. But what a beautiful opportunity to get to be in nature like this. All right, let's jump into this week's reading for Archetype of the Week. Yeah, my wife does that all the time. All right, let's go. Okay, so this week we pulled the Mother. I told you I had to prime you because today when I was working on the script, I was like, no freaking way. No freaking way. I forgot it was Mother's Day. And I didn't even consider that when I pulled the card. And when I sent it to our rooted community, some of them were like, oh my gosh, how incredible. And I thought they were just talking about what's present in their lives. I did not plan this. The cards did. And this is why it is so critical for us as we build our visions, our dreams, our careers, our businesses to be deeply connected to spirit. Because we are nature, nature is us. There are signs, there are synchronicities, there are teachings, and we are being deeply held. So if you are watching on YouTube, you can see the picture of the card. I'm going to have it up on the screen. And I want us to sit with the fact that nature is working with us at all times, just for a moment. Like, take a deep breath. If it's safe, I would invite you to close your eyes. Take a deep breath in, exhaling, sitting with the fact that spirit, source, nature gave us this very on the nose card. And the first thing I want to say and offer to you after this, because this is foundational to all of the archetype work we do here at Rise to Her and Rooted, is that the mother is not something outside of you that is just visiting this week. She is you. She is a part of you. She has always been with you. Every archetype lives within us. That's the whole point of this work. So when we pull the mother here, we are not talking about the energy descending from somewhere else. We are talking about a part of you that is being called forward right now. And she is calling you forward for a reason. So let's get into what that is. And I know, right after Mother's Day, there could be a lot of feelings, a lot of frustrations, a lot of hurt that's present. This card is here to sit with you and offer love, kindness, and nourishment. So let's start with the visuals of the card. Again, it's back on the screen. It starts with a pearl at the center, and it's surrounded by what appears to be an egg and then a hand reaching out. It is not grabbing the egg. It is not like manipulating the egg. It is just like what I read it as covering, shielding it, more of a guide, like I need to protect you. And around all of that, we have a serpent coiled in what looks like a nest. So just take in that visual for a second. A pearl at the center, surrounded by an egg with a hand guarding it, protecting it, shielding it, and then being surrounded fully in a circle of a serpent coiled into a nest. So starting with the pearl, which it takes years to form, and it forms under pressure. And it's surrounded by an egg that hasn't hatched yet. A hand protecting it and a serpent wrapping all the way around it. The serpent here is not a threat to the nest. The serpent on this card is ancient feminine wisdom. She is the part of you that knows what is precious and knows to stay close to it. We can even look at the Christian Bible and see where the snake was demonized, that made Eve fall for sin, right? When we look at the history, women have been demonized. The feminine, whether you're a male, female, non-binary person, genderqueer, the feminine has been demonized. This week, we are inviting the feminine back. We are honoring her. The feminine wisdom, the part of you that knows what is precious. So the mother is the first of all archetypes. She is the beginning, the great mother. She is the feminine, the intuitive, the creative. She is source. And she lives in you. Every single one of you listening to this has the mother archetype within you. And so the card story here is, regardless of our birth stories, each of our hearts beat for the first time in the womb of the mother. We all came from mother. This isn't foreign to our body. Our body knows what mother does. And some of us, the human form has pain associated with the mother. It has hurt. Both of these things can exist. So as I offer this reading, know that there is duality in this archetype. And we're also in Beltane. We're in summer right now. We're coming into it. This is abundance season. So pleasure, play, joy. This is also lambing season. So this is literally babies are being born in the natural world right now. And all different types of animals. Animals are giving birth. And so we're sitting inside a moment that is just inherently generative, okay? The mother in you is responding to that regenerative cycle, whether or not you're paying attention right now. So when we can bring more conscious awareness of it, we can harness that energy instead of allowing it to maybe drag us down or get distracted. That is when it goes into the shadow. So let's talk about the full picture of the mother. Like I said, there's duality in the mother. She is not just warmth and soft and flowers. She contains multitude. Think about Demeter. When her daughter Persephone is taken from her, Demeter's grief doesn't make her collapse, but it does make the earth go barren. If she makes crops stop growing, animals are not producing, and the gods have to step in and negotiate. And then when she is reunited with Persephone during the summer months, when we have spring come in, right? When she returns from the underworld, from Hades, she allows things to be prosperous again. And so both of those things are the mother. There is abundance and the devastation. There's warmth and fury. You need both. That is the full archetype. And that is where I want to bring in something that one of my incredible teachers, Emily Fletcher, has taught me about what the matriarchal society actually means, because we talk a lot about, Rise to Her, the patriarchy falling, how the systems and structures that we exist in, we're set up on the backs of minorities, on the backs of women, of immigrants. It was a capitalistic white supremacy society. And there is this conversation a lot. I even had it with a friend recently about us needing to go to a full matriarchal society. And in this teaching with Emily Fletcher, she speaks about how that word, the matriarchal society, is often confused with women over men. And there are some people that are like, yes, be over, have power over. And if you are someone that feels that way, I just want to encourage you to sit with that, because when we are in the energy of needing to have power over, that energy actually makes us a victim to our emotions. It makes us be outside of actual source power. Okay. So, but matriarchal is not women over men. It is the feminine in its full expression. It is about equitable resources for all. It is with, not over. The mother in you does not hoard nourishment. She knows that abundance flows when it is in circulation. She is not trying to control her resources. She is trying to sustain. So let's talk now about the light and the shadow of the mother archetype. And don't worry, I'm going to give you ways to work with this. And then if you're inside of Rooted, I'm going to send these integration prompts for you this week to really take it and apply it to your business and career. So when you're in the light of this archetype, when the mother in you is in her full expression, you're going to feel really generative. You're going to feel creative. Your work isn't going to feel like you're having to force it out of you. It's going to feel like you genuinely care about what you're growing, about what you're showing up from, because it is coming from a deep place of devotion, which we talked about last week. If you haven't listened to last week's reading, go get in there. We'll talk about devotion and prayer. And when you're in the full mother, the generative creative energy, that life force, you are going to be creating things that are true to your soul, that soul code, right? Because it is truth, truth, truth for you and your soul, because you love it. Not because the numbers say it makes sense, not because someone said this is how you get successful, because all of us listening to this, we've tried that path. And that path has just led to us burning out and feeling like crap. There is obviously the 3D reality of what will work in the 3D. But if you are forcing yourself inside of a structure that was meant to contain you, but was never meant to expand you, it's just going to make you feel like crap again. This is where we tap into the soul code, the code that your soul came here with to guide your decisions and your orientation point. It was the blueprint you arrived with. When you're able to work within that, you're able to find the things that light you up and that can make you money, that can grow abundance, that can attract all that is a match for you. That energy is available to you right now. The mother energy. This season is literally opening the door, right? Not only is it Mother's Day, but it is the lambing season. It is the season where all of the natural world is like, here, I am birthing That's why inside of Rooted, we work with the Portal of Joy workshop over the summer, because when we tap into joy, that only expands possibility and that opens our creativity. That is the light of working with the mother archetype. If you've been listening to this podcast and thinking, this is exactly how I want to run my business, that is your sign to go deeper. Rooted is my monthly membership for entrepreneurs and leaders who are done running their business and their career on empty. Inside, we work with energetic patterns of each season, pull the archetypes, read what's moving, and use all of it to make clearer decisions, reduce the stress that's been quietly draining you, and build towards your vision in a way that actually feels like you and feels deeply connected to source and spirit. Most of us have spent years mastering the strategy and performing really high, the plans, the goals, the hustle. Rooted is the other half. It is the part that makes the strategy work without costing you everything. It's $27 a month, and you can try it free for 7 days. Go to risetoher.com/rooted or click the link in the show notes. Come get rooted with us. I'll see you inside. And then there's the shadow. There's always the light. There's always the shadow. Think about a mom with a baby. She wraps her arms around her creation. That's beautiful. That's gorgeous. And then we know the moms, that as the kids get older and older, they begin to grip. They begin to say, no, it needs to look like this. No, you need to act like this. She starts to grip what she's meant to set free. Yes, she is nurturing, but she is also prohibiting growth. She gives and claims. She creates and restricts. And that tension when we are in the shadow will restrict the creativity and abundance of your business and your career. So I'm curious, where are you gripping right now? What is meant to be set free? Is that your specific offer, the kind of client you're going to work with, how you're going to perceive or promote your brand? Where are you saying, I need to do it this way, teach it this way, have it look exactly like this? When what you're actually creating is trying to take a different shape. You already gave it the bones. You already gave it the form and structure, just like a mother birthing her creativity. But then when we try to control it, when we try to say, no, you're not exactly who I thought was going to take this, that is when we diminish the light and go into the shadow. Where are you holding so tight to an outcome that you're suffocating the thing that you love? We know kids that rebel against their parents because they've been suffocated. They just need to experience it. And then there's that ego piece that we talked so much about last week. Because if a mother doesn't nourish her body, she can't grow the baby. That is just plain scientific truth. And it's also true in your creative work too. If you're running yourself to the ground, operating from a depletion energy, pushing from a place of ego, you cannot birth what wants to come through you. You're the vessel. You are the vessel that has to be cared for. That doesn't mean, you just need to do less. Because the mother energy, she works really freaking hard. We know mothers are just doing the damn thing, right? She is devoted. But then we see those mothers who give at the expense of everything they desire, and their kids start to resent them. They start to say, that is not what I want to be. I want to be anything but that. So our devotion also includes knowing when we need to receive, when we need to rest, when we need to feel back up. Because we, the mother, understand that we are also source. And sources have to be replenished. Because we have the human form. If we were just the soul floating in the ethereal realm, for sure, we're just like infinite connection. But part of us coming here was that we forgot. And so that human form must be replenished. It's why we do the work inside of Rise to Her about honoring the human form in order to access our divine code, our divinity. Stop trying to bypass one for the other. Okay, so this is the part that I think is going to be a really deep layer for our work this week. And we're coming directly out of Mother's Day. We talked about this a little bit earlier, but I want to go deeper into it. The first time any of us encountered the mother archetype was not in a card deck. We know that. It was in our actual mothers. And that relationship, whatever yours was, whatever it looked like, whatever it was, beautiful or painful or complicated or absent or too much or not enough, that shaped how the mother archetype is going to live in you. That is your first data for what nourishment looks like, what devotion looks like, what protection looks like, and what love looks like. And those early impressions will continue to run your business, run your career, run your leadership style, whether you know it or not. Some of us are going to push our work too hard because maybe we received a lot of admiration for, oh my gosh, you work so hard. I'm so proud of you, right? And that is the time that we got the recognition, the love, the care, the heck yes that we wanted for just existing. Some of us give and give because we learned that love is only sacrifice. And some of us are going to grip our creative work because no one ever showed us that what we built would be safe if we just loosened our hold a little bit. And some of us, I'm going to bold this one, some of us abandon things before they're done because no one ever modeled finishing or no one ever modeled that we were capable. So we're just reliving an old prophecy. And I'm not saying this to make you feel like crap, okay? That is not what shadow work, that is not what archetypal work is about. I'm saying it because when you bring that conscious awareness to it, we start to see how these archetypes are shaping how we live. Because the mother in you has been shaped. And if you don't look at what shaped her, she's going to keep running old patterns that you did not choose. So this week's invitation is just to look at it. What did you learn about what nourishment looks like? What did devotion look like in the home that you grew up in? And is that version, the early imprinted version, is that the one that is currently running how you show up for your business, for your career, and inside of your leadership style? The card here says that the mother holds the key to the internal challenge of love. And I think that means that loving what you create enough to keep showing up for it and loving it enough to allow it to shape into what it actually wants to become. Not just like, oh, it had to be this. That is what the internal challenge of love is. So let's talk a little bit more about how this shows up inside of your work, how we can mother our business, our dream, our career. Because the mother archetype is a freaking creative force. I have been sitting in it deeply this week. I sent out an email to all of my email subscribers. And if you are not one of those, you can go on to my website, risetoher.com. You can get access to one of my free courses or just go to the bottom and sign up to get my newsletters. And you'll know when all the podcasts come out, when I have free offerings, challenges, courses, all of those fun things. So I was talking about being in this full creative force, but I had to remove some things and make space to be able to allow that channel, to allow the mother to reach me. The mother is the part of you that conceives something. She carries it, she nourishes it as it's developing. And at some point, it has to be released, right? You can't just stay pregnant forever. You would die. You have to let it into the world and let it be received, which also requires letting yourself be perceived. And that is what we have to do with our businesses and careers, with our offers, with our creative projects. We have to mother them. And mothering them means all the things we've talked about. Nourishing yourself, your human self first, because you cannot pour from empty. That is a cliche for a reason. It also means to protect the vision, just like the hand in this card is covering, shielding, protecting the egg. You have to know what your work is and what it's for clearly enough that you aren't going to let every piece of feedback, every piece of being perceived, reshape it into something unrecognizable. It also means releasing it and actually putting that thing out there. Letting it be what it is, even when you could really just keep tweaking it forever. Oh, I need to make this edit. Put yourself out there. If you've had this vision, we are in the season of birthing it. And this energy is going to show up in how you relate to your work. Because remember, the matriarchal power is power with, not power over. So when the mother in you is in her light, you're not controlling every outcome, and you're trusting that you are ready to birth. You are holding the conditions for the things to emerge. The Tao Te Ching, chapter 1, talks about the mother of 10,000 things. The source doesn't force anything into form. She creates the conditions and trust what wants to grow. So where are you forcing? And where could you just hold better conditions instead? That is the question. Okay, so 3 things I'm going to ask you to do with this energy this week, and I'm going to break it down in more depth with the integration prompts inside of Rooted. If you haven't joined, it is my Seasonal Living and Ancient Wisdom membership where I teach energetic mastery for entrepreneurs and leaders to be able to tap into the unseen so they can create more powerfully in the 3D. So I give you this work and I help you take it and apply it to your business and your career and your leadership, and give you integration prompts so that you can actually make it tangible. You can get a 7-day free trial with the link in the show notes, or go to www.risetoher.com/rooted. Okay, so the 3 things: nourishment audit. Where are you pouring energy into your work? And then what's pouring back into you? See where you're out of balance. Second, I want you to look at all of the moving parts that you have in your business or your career and see what you're holding on too tight right now. And third, and this is for the Mother's Day week especially, look at the mother that you received. Through your actual mother or whoever first showed you what nourishment and devotion looks like, what did you absorb? Those are the 3 things I want you to sit with. And for my Rooted members, there's going to be more integration and some deeper perspective inside of the WhatsApp channel. So you can check that. Okay, that was good. That was intense. But the mother in you, she does not ask you to just be soft. She is asking you, though, to be devoted. And devotion means you know when to hold. I feel like a country song. That you know when you need to hold something, when you need to release it, and when you need to nourish yourself, the human form, and when you need to protect your own creation from your grip of control. Because if you do that with an egg, you crush it, you smother it. She came through at the beginning of the month, at the end of April. She is arriving just a few days before Mother's Day. I'm recording this on May 7th. So whatever is conscious in you this week about mothering, about being mothered, about how you're showing up for your vision, for your business, for your career, let it come. That is her doing what she does best. All right. I'll see you next week. I hope you have a lovely week. Be gentle with yourself and come hang out with us inside of Rooted. I'll see you then. Bye. Thank you so much for being here, for listening, reflecting, and rising into more of who you really are. If this episode sparked something inside of you or reminded you you're not alone, then you're exactly where you're meant to be. To keep the conversation going, come hang out with me on Instagram @RiseToHer. I always love hearing what's resonating for you. And if you're craving a space to explore intuitive, soul-led living with others who get it, our community is growing and you're always welcome. Until next time, trust yourself, honor your rhythm, and keep rising.